Good morning, you guys. Hello, Wednesday. So today I'm talking to you about food. So last week I posted a story post on just a picture of my daughter's plate of what she was eating for dinner that night. And I told you story time for later. So now is later. So yes, the whole reason I posted that video or that picture is because I know how much of a struggle it is for navigating food and autism and ADHD. So, ADHD, personally, I understand what it's like. This is something that isn't really talked about, but struggles around consuming the right nutrients and consuming water. This is something that is very, there are specific reasons as to why it feels more difficult for people navigating ADHD. So if you are a parent, this is also a journey of a skill to develop by making sure that, you're learning what your child is wanting, is needing for their body, their likes, their preferences, all of those things. That is a skill to develop. Regardless if you are parenting autism or ADHD, everyone has to learn this skill as a parent. Now, there are a lot of specific differences when you are parenting a child on the autism spectrum or who has ADHD when it comes to food. So I'm going to talk about just a little bit about what I have been learning and discovering with my journey and learning my daughter's palate, learning what she likes, learning what she dislikes. Now, the number one thing is, so one of the things that I have to consider when learning this about my daughter is culture. American culture, my culture of being Black, and my husband's culture of being Portuguese and white and American. So food for both her Black culture and also her Portuguese culture is a very big thing. Food given is, I think this is a human thing, to be honest, depending on whatever your culture is, will depend on how food ties into that. But it is what it is for my family. Now, one of the big things is, one of the main things that we learn in American culture is to make sure that we're targeting these three main things, which are protein, fats, and carbs. And now, I do have to say that I am not a food expert. I am not a nutrition expert. That is not my area of expertise. This is just the knowledge that this is just coming from the perspective that I have, from the things that I've learned about myself and I've learned just in my experiences, and also in my practice of supporting those who have difficulties around food, whether it's sensitivities, whether it's lack of consuming solids, all of those things. So all of that in a nutshell comes up for me, or all of that information comes up for me in my parenting. And one of the things that I have been most concerned about for my daughter is making sure that she gets adequate protein. She still is breastfeeding, so she's getting the best nutrients that she's getting from that. But also I've noticed more recently that she has been less likely to consume protein in the form of meat. And this is very common. I didn't know this is common for a lot of younger humans, I would say. And I actually talked to her pediatrician about how she is more likely to eat carbs like rice. She loves rice cakes, just carbs like that. And my pediatrician, or her pediatrician, mentioned that she's burning so many calories during the day. It makes sense as to why she would consume carbs. Now, I didn't fact check that or anything, but to me, it made sense, so I went with it. So this particular time that we had taco night, she never eats the taco meat that we prepare for her. Whether it's made in the crock pot, whether it's shredded pork, ground beef, ground turkey, you get the gist. So I decided to change my own behavior in how I prepared her plate. And she's clearly set a boundary, even though she's not able to verbally say, I am not going to eat this meat. her behavior is telling me that because the meat is on the floor, because the meat is still in her plate that we give her, she's not eating the meat. And I want her to eat enough so that she can sleep more through the night. And the reason why this was important to me is because she was waking up more frequently in the night to breastfeed. And I need my sleep. She needs her sleep. So I'm going to go ahead and put the picture on the next slide so that you can see the plate again. So on this plate, the things that she sees are all things that she loves and she enjoys, which is evidence. The evidence that I have for that is that she consumes it. It's no longer on her plate and it's not on the floor. So rice, she loves rice. She loves Mexican rice. Gave her Mexican rice. Avocado, she loves avocado. And I put lime and salt on it, and then also tomatoes. She absolutely loves tomatoes. So what I did is I actually used the tomato. I cooked the tomato in the crock pot. So I put it in there after everything was done and kind of let it sit in there to get the nutrients from the meat. And I put that on her plate. And I also used some of the fat and the juice from the crock pot meat and I put it over her rice. And she ate everything that night, which is great because during the night, both my husband and I got great sleep and she got great sleep because she only woke up one time. And for us, that is a win. Anytime we get extra hours of uninterrupted sleep, that is a win. And it makes us all feel better for whatever we have to do the next day. So what I want to say is I wanted to talk to you guys about it because there's a lot of pressure on parents to ensure that our children are getting the best nutrients. And if you are a parent navigating autism or ADHD and your child has sensitivities around consuming food or has needs around consuming food, it is really hard to navigate alone and knowing exactly what the right decision is to make so that they are getting the right nutrients, so that they're able to grow, they're able to function. So the best thing to do is to build on the foods that your child is already eating. And there's a whole lot of talking and planning before even coming up with a strategy that is going to work for your family, because my unique situation is completely different from your unique situation. And this is where my support comes into play. So if you are this parent that are needing support in this particular area, DM me and we can see, what strategies we can come up with and we can talk about the things that you may need. And another side note, this is the last thing I'm going to leave you with. The more that your child learns to communicate, the easier it will be to expand what they consume. And this is something that was super helpful for my brother and his journey with food. So if you guys do not know, my brother did not start eating solids until he was 7 years old. So he only has 3 years of experience of eating solids. And the more that he developed in communicating and making relations to things and connections, it was a lot easier to introduce him to new food. So my mother and I were able to describe what a food was like by letting him know what the texture was similar to, letting him know the flavors that were similar to things that he was familiar with. And it made him less anxious to try foods. And now we consider him a foodie. He likes all different types of food from different ethnic groups, from different textures and flavors, lots of different things. And it's a beautiful thing to see because he's enjoying himself. And here's a little bonus. Bye. That bye is a bonus. So to all of the behavior analysts who create these goals and all of the RBTs who implement these goals, and to all the parents who are learning why these goals are important and why your child is learning these things, these small little goals that are implemented in practice translate to these different areas. And as a parent, understanding what's important to you will help you determine which goals to consent to. And if you have a goal in your intervention plan that is related to your child learning the difference and similarities and differences within certain stimuli or different things in their environment, that information translates into the other areas of need, these bigger areas of need, such as food selectivity, because this is one of the things that really, really helped with my brother. Him learning the things that compare and things that are different from each other really helped him feel comfortable enough to try these new foods that he had not tried in the 7 years of his life. So yeah, this is something that I'm so passionate about, and this is something that I love to make connections with, so that you as a parent, if you're navigating autism or ADHD, you can kind of, I like to help bridge that gap so it makes sense to you, and it makes sense in a way, thank you, it makes sense in a way that you are intentional in the support that you are choosing to receive.